Welcome, one and all, to Creative Spark, my YouTube show, where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they do. With me today is somebody who is always live on Twitch, Captain RoBear. Hello.
Great, great to be here. Very nice to meet you, Jason.
And you. How are you?
Oh, better than I deserve.
That's all we can hope
Play
for.
D&D every day.
Yeah,
Like
you're not wrong.
my life is fantastic. You can't have complaints when you get to play 4 to 5 times a week. That's pretty much a dream.
I play 3 times a week, and I don't do this full time.
You, my friend, and with a family, have really learned to maximize your schedule.
I have no spare time. Just D&D. That is the spare time,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I'm
You have to
fine
pick and
with.
choose. Absolutely.
Um, right, let's talk D&D first, actually, because I think even though I've talked to a fair few D&D content creators, I think as an effectively full-time DM, um, your your journey with the game is kind of more important, because this is, you literally just play D&D, which I think is amazing. So when did you first discover D&D?
When I first discovered D&D, so fantasy for me bridges from the point when my aunt first reads Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Like that plants the seeds of like, I love this. I love this adventuring party. Like, for a classic journey from Narnia into Middle Earth, like the books are the initial hooks. I live right down the street from a library. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a small college town on the Mississippi River in between St. Louis, Memphis, and Nashville. So, like, gateway to fantasy was right down the street.
Nice.
And when it wasn't right down the street, it was begging my mom, because when I'm old enough to where when I used the card catalog, I would pull out and I would want this fantasy novel, and it would be at the university library instead of mine. And I'd be like, Mom, can we please go up to the university library? I have to get this. So like the seeds of fantasy are planted there, and they take root, and they kind of go through my journey with Boy Scout. So when you're scouting and you're camping and you're doing all that cool outdoor stuff,
Mm-hmm.
man, it rains a lot here. Like a lot. So like my camping career, and everybody that's ever been a Boy Scout in the United States knows, like, you collect these beads, at least during my time that you did, for what weather your camp out was. And my troop too, we were just like, we had the most black beads of anyone I ever saw. Like our campouts were just constantly flooded out. So what do? You huddle in the tent and you play what games you can.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing easier to bring with us at that point than a couple AD&D books. And as kids playing, that's a totally different version of D&D, because you have little to no life experience.
Mm.
But man, you've read enough fantasy where you know what kind of adventure that you want to go on. So I got into AD&D. Who knows what we were actually playing then, but we're storytelling, and that's the important part. And then Hero Quest comes along,
Mm-hmm.
and me and my brother fall in love with playing Hero Quest during the winter months, because it's super easy. I can get casual folks to sit down and do a dungeon crawl,
Mm-hmm.
because it's mega palatable. And that rocks my life pretty much through high school. And then there's what I call the great gray zone,
Mm-hmm.
because what happens is all these video games get really good, and World of Warcraft launches, and now you're not having to schedule times
Yeah.
with folks. Life is getting very busy for everyone. uh People are going off with their significant others now.
Mm-hmm.
This is that great emergence and change in your life. So you stop being Peter Pan for a minute.
Yeah.
And I always equate D&D to Peter Pan, because everybody goes through the same moments in the movie Hook that Robin Williams does. That they're Peter Pan initially, and they love life, and they get to play like a child and use their imagination, and then they forget they're Peter, because life and everything else just kind of beats it out of you, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody says it is time to officially grow up. And then you realize that you miss playing like a child,
Mm.
and somebody has to shake you and go, "It's you, Peter, it's you," and you have to remember. So I go through that period where video games are so good, so easy, so accessible. That's what I do. I play all the great RPGs that come out and go through that swath. So I'm not meeting at a table like I was with Hero Quest or my I forgot to say I got one of the Dragon Quest boxes. And man, those things were so hodgepodge, but man, they came with some great minis and like a bunch of the old D&D art, and like it was thrown together on a board. So, like they were trying to tap into Hero Quest, but like man, it was so difficult. Like I think it would have been easier for me to just learn AD&D when I was that young all the way through. But you know, the important stuff is all there. You're going on a quest with friends, you're storytelling, you're rolling dice. And so I go through that whole period of my life where I'm not meeting up for anything. You know, I'm just doing my letting that get out of my system through gaming. And then I am in the back of my tavern. So I become a tavern owner in my hometown. I start very early. I know that I want to be a tavern owner.
Incredible.
So in classic Missouri, Southeast Missouri fashion, my first tavern is when I'm 20. The liquor license is in my brother's name. So by the time this rolls around, this is my third tavern. Okay. So I'm on like, this is my adult, like I'm going to retire in this place. It's a nice craft beer bar. This is my adult establishment. I've had all the crazy get out of me. And I'm in the back and I'm counting down the register, and I see that I'm watching Twitch because I'm playing games late night. So I'm in a handful of communities. Most importantly, I'm in the Destiny community, and this matters later on in my story. So I play a lot of Destiny, and I've just started watching like King Gathalion and Professor Broman, who really curated that early community. And I love that because I was like, oh man, this feels like gaming back in the day. And of course I switch over and I see that Critical Role is playing, and I go, somebody is recording their D&D game. Oh, this is going to be a train wreck. And I turn it on and I'm sitting there counting and go, oh no. Oh, these guys, no, I know all these. These are all voice actors.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. So there it goes. I watched the first episode and I go, man, I miss playing with my friends like that. I'm like, the last time, all of a sudden I'm recounting, I'm like, when was the last time I even met up and did like a mystery dinner with friends that were in theater or that were in debate, that were in spoken word kind of creative careers? And I'm like, man, we don't do any of that anymore. And that's when I'm like, you know what? I want that again. And I literally have the basement of my tavern. I've played every video game that's been out. I'm burnt out. I'm like, so I start my first 5e game immediately in the basement. I think this is right before the Briarwood arc, because this was pretty early when they were on Geek and Sundry. So then that's where I start my 5e. I collect all the books again. I'm like, oh man, they streamlined the hell out of this. This is perfect. I was like, I was fearing it at first. I was like, man, I just don't know if people with my friends with early kids or or any of my younger friends are gonna take to this, because I'm gonna have to, like, the learning curve. But luckily it was accessible enough, and then we get to play in my basement, in my bar's basement. Awesome. They bring the food, and it's all the good tavern feels. Like I get to live that classic D&D fantasy.
Such a cool place to play a D&D game.
And we got to come in everybody got to come in the back way, so you could still come in like your pajama pants. Like you didn't have to be seen by the public at all.
Nice.
You come back down there and everything got brought down. And let me tell you what, I still had more people cancel in the ultimate scenario than I do playing online D&D.
Yeah.
Still, literally free food and beverage unseen was still not enough to combat. I got off work. It's dark. I'm tired. I can't do this. So I'm having this, incredible life. I'm enjoying stuff. I'm interacting with the Destiny community. I'm going to, events that they have. So I'm starting to learn some industry folks by, the events that are going through that end up becoming GCX, the convention. So all of my live shows that I do are all through this convention during that time when it is growing,
Mm.
just as a meetup, because we all just met up at a bar once that all played Destiny after
Mm.
work. So when COVID hit, and I go, I have nowhere to go
Yeah.
because I shut my bar down the first day. We're in a college town. I'm like, we're not going to get like, there's not going to be a town.
Mm.
So we lose our student population for 2.5 years. So there's just nothing you can do about it. There's just
Yeah.
literally no economic viability
Yeah, of course.
that's left. And what's even worse is that your spoken word and your mythos
Mm.
and your culture all disappear. So everything that I had been a part of and
Yeah.
I grew up and passed on and had gone to this university and went, all gone. One swoop, completely wiped out. And yeah, so like that was the moment I realized I have to make an internet job. And luckily, I knew all these wonderful folks that were inside the Twitch YouTube sphere. And so I leaned on that mentorship really hard then. And that's when I started the wild streaming experience. And that's a whole other story on top of it. Because I did not get to start out streaming D&D. That is for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's how I got into the streaming world.
Mm.
Um, like anything else, the streaming world is a business, and you have to understand that it is a business, and it's a wild one, and it's an emerging, and it's a changing one. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to try to run this as a business and try to hack as much
Mm-hmm.
attention as I can. Luckily, Mixer was just coming out at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
or at least was coming into its own as far as a brand. So I was on Twitch maybe for a couple of weeks. Sea of Thieves had just launched. I'm like, okay, multiplayer, this can really carry a stream. You can ease into it as a
Yeah.
broadcaster. Even though I'm super comfortable, I'm a storyteller, I'm natural back behind the bar. I have that. But speaking to a camera instead of a person is still an
It's a
acquired
weird
skill.
change of pace. Yeah.
Weird change of pace during that, and all the feelings of COVID and everything being gone is different. So I kind of lean on that, and you start to build that first small pile,
Mm-hmm.
and we play a bunch of Sea of Thieves. And with me wearing this captain hat doesn't hurt looking like a C-list Jason Momoa or Aquaman. And this hat has a whole different story. This thing's been on me for 17 years now. It was never a stream gimmick. I wore it for a bachelor party in New Orleans,
Yep.
and it stuck on me ever since. My
And you
friends told
committed.
me to wear it. Yeah, committed. They told me to wear it at the then at the wedding. So I started meeting people as the captain and Captain RoBear. Hey, where's Captain Ro? Where's Cap at? And they would come to my taverns and they'd be like, hey, where's the captain at? So I had to keep it. I had to take it from my pontoon boat and leave it inside the bar. And then eventually I just got stuck with it. Now I have to moisturize my forehead like twice a day because I wear this hat so much.
That's incredible.
So I get that small pile, I get things rolling, and then I'm able to integrate. I'm like, okay, let's do this. I want to start an additional D&D group.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to bring folks up that were in my basement into a game, and then I'd met creator friends. So then I'm running not just one D&D game a week. Now I have my second D&D game.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start the avalanche begins, and you begin cultivating a community around what you do. And a big thing that I wanted to do initially and still do on the internet is create a community that is around watching play.
Mm.
Because all questions that ever get diverted to me, whether in a Discord,
Yeah.
whether in person or anywhere else, is answered by you need to stop and play.
Yep.
It's all you're getting lost in the sauce of theory crafting, and that's not D&D. You need to play, experience all the things that you think, just do them, find your like-minded friends, find your tribe, or even in this day, we have so many good one-on-one modules, find your one other friend that wants to play and start going down that rabbit hole. Quit watching these sensational takes about builds that will never be inside of any real D&D game
Mm.
because your DM will have the sense to know that this isn't good for you and other friends
You won't
enjoying
enjoy
each
it in the
other.
long run. Like,
Yeah, you're just being a detriment to yourself.
yeah.
So all these questions, and I there's a ton of people that make a great living doing all this wild and wacky stuff and answering these questions. That stuff just isn't for me
Mm-hmm.
and just doesn't matter. I want people to experience the real good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is playing D&D with your friends. So everything that I do centers around, don't ask me, I'm not your DM, just do. You just need to do. Everybody, every time you ask a D&D question, you're one step away from not getting to play.
Mm.
Like, you need to be focusing on gathering your party and doing those essentials way more than you need to be doing worrying about theory crafting. You know, you need to look down and go down that road. Is DMing for me? What is my style of DMing? You got to ask and answer some honest questions. Do I work well with others? Sometimes some people just aren't meant to, like, they need to find a one-on-one game.
Mm.
Like, they want to tell their novella, and the worst thing you can find is somebody that DMs and wants to wedge everybody into the story that
Yeah.
they've already written. But you need to find what it is that makes you tick. Find out whether you're an improv or a creative writer. Finds, have some hard truths, and that's the great part. The D&D experience is like life 101. You will go from a zero perception person to a high perception person, no matter where you rank and where you work at it, because that's the name of the game when you're balancing all the elements. Because this is a social experiment plus game
Mm-hmm.
layered in with story. So there's a lot there. And I will say, I give huge credit to the new Dungeon Master's Manual. It really spells out the unwritten rules of baseball,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote. It shows, hey, these are the social elements of D&D that you're going to be fighting, that come along with things. It's no longer just accepted. Oh, you should know. Like,
Mm.
don't you get what vibes I'm putting off? No, they don't. We realize people have a large spectrum of what they're socially perceiving on each other.
Mm.
And then, like, as a dungeon master over the period of time, now I know how to wrangle wherever we're at on that spectrum and to reinforce and to go back in. And that, you know where that comes from? It comes from time playing, folks. You have to just play. It's the secret to everything. Like, that's just it. You just have to figure out how you can get game time. And now you live in the golden age.
Mm.
Like, you are no longer geographically locked to your game store, your street, or anywhere else. You can play as much D&D now as your heart desires, and there's so many communities to find like-minded individuals. It's on you. The folks just aren't putting in the work to find their specific tribe or like-minded folks, because now it's everywhere.
Thank goodness my D&D group. One of us is in Denmark, two of us from China. Weirdly, one of us is in the same town as, like, me, and one of them are, our kids go to the same school, which is how I ended up in a group. But yeah,
I
like,
love when you make new friends in the town that you live, you would never have run into. Like, you may have passed each other in the grocery store once, and then because of, like, one moment, like, you see each other at the game store, or just happen to meet. It's so cool to me.
It's great, and it's like you say, it's only really viable now because, like, online D&D, which is a proper gift, I think.
Thank you, online D&D.
Thank you. At what point during your streaming, like, you're thinking about, getting this started as a business, at what point did you realize it was going to be, instead of you were trying, like, it became one?
There's the boats were burned. Didn't matter. Like, everybody else, that's the other question I get. How do you get into this field? How do you know? How's it working? Well, yeah, real easy for me. I had nowhere to go. I'd been in beer my entire life. Everybody in the big beer business were turning their beer into soap and hand sanitizer at the time.
Yeah.
There was nowhere for me to go. I couldn't take my speech communication college degree and go do anything. like that not happening. Um, so easy when you're pushed. You're going to double down. I
Mhm.
know that I need a job that's online. I know that this is going to be good for me because it's scalable.
Mhm.
I've been in the tavern business. I can only make as much as my 150 seats and my last one could hold
Mhm.
and then turn over. Now I have an infinite chat room.
Mhm.
So I'm like, this is a good thing. This is not a 30 employee business either. So I'm getting really scaled down from where I was at the
Mhm.
peak, and I won't lie, it was kind of nice
Yeah.
not having to be work father, for grown individuals
Yeah.
that could that may or may not show up to work. Largely, I was lucky and had great folks. But once university was gone, no longer did I have a market, but I
Mm.
also lost my best employees.
Of course.
I grad students, the ones that are like, I'm not ready to go to the real world.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sign me up for that master. Give me that one more year. Let me teach. Those were they had infinite discretionary income, time, and love to invest in your space. And when you're talking about a tavern, it's a third space, just
Mm.
like a game store is, a library, anything else. It is an intellectual zone for people to meet and to invest in. Joe Boo's softball team is
Mm.
the same thing versus that. We need collectively, we need these spaces to grow that are not our home, that aren't owned by a boss or a significant
Mhm.
other. They're ours. And nobody can touch that little thing but you.
Mm.
And that's important. And COVID, we lost that. And so we had to find those third places online again. To this day, our food RP persists. Now, one, I've been in the tavern business and I've been a cook my whole life, and I'm a big dude, love to eat. Like, we do some intense food RP, but man, during COVID and not being able to have dinner with friends
Yeah.
elevated that so much. So like, we're going hard in the paint about what we're like, our fantasy cooking sessions, and like on the road, we would have like the most gourmet, like I'd have like six Dutch ovens going in this fantasy. Like I would have the ultimate Boy Scout setup. I'm making cobbler in one, we're doing chili, venison chili in another, and we're going to town. But yeah, it became very visceral
Mhm.
during all that. But to circle back to it, I I just had go. So I was at a point in my life where I had money to do so.
Mm.
I was in a spot where I'm in a great place that is not LA, New York,
Yeah.
Chicago. I'm not living in a market where, oh man, I need to be making top dollar and I need to be
Yeah.
making it quick. I live in one of the cheapest parts of the country. I already owned my own house. I own my own truck. I can go lean. And
Mm.
when it comes to doing any new business, and it's not just streaming, you got to go lean. And as a bachelor, I was able to do that. When you have responsibilities and have a larger family and other people that you need to provide for, those things you're going to have real set deadlines of like, this needs to be here, this
Mm.
budget needs to be here by this time, or I can't pursue that want, hope, or dream anymore.
Mhm.
I have to do something that is less risky. And for me, I've always been able to do the most risky because of my position and being able to leverage that. So, when I made less than minimum wage, it didn't matter. There wasn't a minimum wage job for me to have. So everything was good. You know, and during that time, we're living so cheap. We're just in the house.
Yeah.
Like, well, we have nothing to do but watch streaming, play D&D, and like cook together, like all family meals. So like, man, I ate Hamburger Helper, legendary in the United States. Just cheap noodles, protein, flavor, just like I did growing up, and it was hilarious. Like we reminisced over like cooking stuff we hadn't cooked in years
Mm.
because we just were like, oh man, we'll do that during the holidays, but not during like on a Wednesday. You're like, oh man, I'm doing full on, 2.5 hours of chicken parm on a Wednesday, during what would normally be a work day. You would come in, it was like, who's outdoing each other with the family meal, which was super cool. But yeah, I just don't have that same experience. Anybody else that does it, you're gonna have to treat it like I said, where you have your time limits and your set off, just like you would a normal business.
Mhm.
When is your bend or break point? And you're going to have to do your homework and find out, how do I get my initial first pile of eyes and roll it into what I really want to do? Because you're probably not going to get to do what you want to do at the very beginning.
Mm.
It's a good segue into the 24/7 if you want to go there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let's go. Let's stream roll straight into it. So why did you decide to just be permanently going, basically?
Super simple. I don't want to play games on stream anymore. I want to play D&D. So how do we do that? If all I can do is play 4 hours of D&D a day, this is not going to make a stream career. You don't have enough eyeballs on your product. If doing a 4 hour stream a day is being a part-timer, and this is the moment when, man, people are really doubling down on hours. People are getting crazy at this point. They're doing unhealthy amounts, and this is when subathons are just starting to creep in and be a big factor. And I'm like, man, this is number one, this is a young person's game, because this is silly. Like, man, I can stay up with the best of them, but like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to be doing this bloodshot trying to play a video game and entertain. Like, I do 16 hours at a bar all day, but I have stimuli. I have other things to go off.
Yeah, people to talk to, right? Like, actually,
yeah,
real
people and stories to talk
to.
to.
Man.
It's so different. So I'm like, I have to rethink this, and I go, I'm going to treat myself like the business that I am. I am a small, independent radio station or TV station. I create all my content in-house. So what I need to do is I need to syndicate myself. I need to put myself out there, and I need to be on all the time so people can catch me. I need to be just like Seinfeld. You need to go 5 channels on the remote before you catch an old episode. And that's what we did. And it hits all time zones. You got to create a catalog of I wouldn't say non-interactive is not quite the right term, but you need to have a good form of more passive, enjoyable content. You don't have to interact with us directly to enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
A stream where someone's playing a video game and interacting directly is not a good form of syndicatable content.
Yeah.
But D&D actual play is. So I create, I have this massive catalog from playing that many times a week. I start replaying the episodes. I just throw it up on a side computer. People think it's some sort of wizardry. It's a computer that sits right over here. I tell everybody it's OBS with VLC plugin, and I put the files right in there, and it blows people's minds. There's no crazy automation. I just get up every day and cycle through 48-hour Twitch reset. I know when it's coming. Yes, do I sleep in sometimes and miss it? You betcha. But I do it just like anybody else. I just go and I reset the stream. I do the thing. I sometimes now there's a little bit of guessing game in science. Is it better to run a marathon of a bunch of one campaign back to back, or is it a busy week where we had a bunch of new shows? Okay, I'm just going to cycle those through. So you do a little bit of guessing game of what's best to show the audience and when to show them. But that syndication is what allows me I don't sweat it when I go anywhere. I can sign up for a con. I know I'm making ad rep.
Yeah.
And I don't have to live in fear like other content creators do, because they have to live just like the bartenders in the bartending life I lived with, where not only is a vacation the cost of going to the vacation, but it's also the cost of you not working and being on. And man, I remember having to tell people that. I was like, yeah, this little getaway is awesome. It's very affordable. But I said, I lose triple that amount if I don't work this weekend. So like, I really have to pick and choose. And it's hard for folks that aren't in industry to get that. And I think, it's hard for content creators to convey that. Luckily, folks in YouTube, they can preload videos. Folks in short form can preload. Streaming, there is only what I do. And you have to be very, very specific about what you have to make that work. And you have to have a directory that makes it work. D&D goes from about a couple of hundred people to whatever the CR number is at that moment. In
All
between, yeah, So if somebody comes on and they do their actual play, we have 2 pages of shows. Me being on top of that directory isn't stopping anyone from being seen in the D&D directory.
Yeah.
Now, if I were in a different category, let's say one of the FPS games, you are expected in a Kingmaker system to trade off when you're off to give other people time. That's part of the unwritten rules of streaming, to give other folks a chance.
Yeah.
The folks that sit there and do what I do on those, that's looked negatively.
Yeah.
For me, I tell everybody in the D&D channel to syndicate themselves. 1, no one will know you're there if you don't. And 2, it's only a net positive for you to get that first pile and to make some ad rev. Because even if you only have a 15 person stream, let me tell you what, running just 3 minutes of ads on the hour to kill pre-roll is going to make infinitely more money than you have ever made with your subs or direct support or anything else. You have to become an ad network for yourself. And so if we all did it, we would have 2 pages full of way more people, and that would push the D&D directory further up.
Yeah.
So D&D is so hard to do, to gather and herd that many cats. We're never going to have a 10-page directory at the same time. I mean, even in COVID, I think like the max maybe I ever saw was like a 3 scroll. That's a lot of D&D games going online at the same time.
Because it's like 5 to 6 times the number of streams in people because of how D&D works, right?
And this was exactly. And this was before Twitch did recommended viewing or any of that. Like, it was just straight highest to lowest. Now you have a lot more algorithmic choice and letting you kind of experience and see newer stuff. So it works for what I do. And I got to live through we had the whole moment where we all got deplatformed off Mixer, and like I could see it coming, and I was prepping during all this, and I'm like, how many times am I going to have an event in my life that completely changes what I do at all times? I was like,
so many.
I've been there from like 2008, like when I'm like the first time was like, hey, there's no credit, buddy. The credit market is gone. I'm like, can the millennials get a break around here? I know I'm on the elder side, but I'm like, hey man, we need a break on this price.
There's no break. There's just more world-changing events every 5 minutes. And it's like, bro, I want a nap.
5 years, just reinvent everything you've ever thought you were gonna do. I was just joking, we're going through it right now with everyone switching to Blue Sky and Threads from Twitter. I said, this is what happens. I said, I have lived this in every incarnation. I was like, don't cry.
Just don't get attached.
Don't worry. Don't be thankful that people are starting to make protocols where we're going to be able to take these things with us. These are actually good things. All in all, like we all need to take back our digital rights bit by bit. And as the spaces emerge, like hopefully we're able to do so. And we're not so, hitched to the platform, because if Amazon decided tomorrow that they were going to no longer run the Twitch side and only sell the live streaming service, we would go through that all again, and you would have to rediscover all your followers. So luckily we're going into the protocol world where we're going to start being able to take our digital footprint with us and the followers that want to see us in our content. But like, we're a long ways from there, but like, just get used to change. That is the only constant that you can plant your flag on in this biz.
In life, I'm with you. I'm 36, so I'm on the, I think, mid-range. I don't know, mid-range millennial, I guess.
You're elder to mid-range.
Yeah. And yeah, man, like it's every couple of years, it's just like, oh, this is a huge life-changing thing, and oh, there's no such thing as a career anymore, because that's not how it works. Like the way
there's no 50-year watch.
Nah.
There's not
you can't work your way up, because there's nothing to work your way up to anymore. That's not how it works.
You have to constantly leave and go to someplace else where somebody else appreciates you for what level you've attained, and continue it. We used to joke, because there's a lot of parallels between our business and the wrestling business. And we talk about it a lot, and it's something, growing up in the Upland South, wrestling is another big part of my storytelling career, and where I get it. And their business is no different. A lot of times to be appreciated, you have to change and you have to evolve. You can't do the same thing. They're an in-person performer, but they have to, the greatest ones have always been able to evolve with the times,
Yeah.
and to change, and sometimes have to leave and go somewhere else and come back even when there was nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And that's just great advice. That's just great career advice right now. I it's wild seeing my brother, who is on the, right on the end of, like, he is a borderline Zennial, Gen X, and it's just he's seeing places, that he's worked for. Now there's just crazy buyouts of everything, and it's like, you've been working in a place and everything's been good, and then, oh, it's time for the owners to cash out, and here comes, big VC, big venture capitalist comes in and go, nah, we really just like the real estate you're at. Let's just strip this company completely out. Wild times. That's a whole other talk.
Yeah, that's a dark topic that would kill the vibe. Let's not take that path.
All I ever wanted to do was be a businessman, local, like Main Street.
Yeah,
I love Main Street. I loved walking down my street, taking the broom out and literally beating the rug and having the conversation with the folks that had the small boutique across the street. Anybody that had that first, I have an idea and I could make it. I loved that so much. And I hate that it is the hardest thing now for folks to do. And you see less and less of it. My heart still beats when I go to a farmer's market, or, I go to these small places where people are still making it. And I love that. That's where the roots, that small town roots that I grew up with, for sure. And you still, like, I get to live that with streaming, because streaming is Main Street in a really different way, in a digital way, really in the best drawn fantasy kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. What does an average day look like for you?
Great question.
Thank you.
I used to work 16 hours a day, on call 24/7. Not anymore. Yeah, not a chance. When I first got into this, it was crazy, and I had to do all that extra work, because you have to when you establish your business. The minute I got to where my groove was at, 8 to 9 hours a day, 4 hours of prep, 4 hours of play, done. I live my life. Nice. Life is too short. I have 2 nephews. They're awesome. They're in the fun zone. They think Uncle Ro and Daddy are awesome.
Nice.
Still, because they're 5 and 7. Yep. And we have family dinner on Fridays, because I have no kids. I'm a bachelor, so my kids are my nephews, and they live right down the street. Me and my brother are super close, so I get to have those family moments. So I do have a family schedule. I go to their kindergarten class and read, and I'm ready to plant the seeds to read Narnia to him the same way that I was read. Like, I'm ready for all that. So when I was in the bar business, I would never got to do that on a Friday. If I work on Friday or Saturday, it's because a dear friend, has either asked me, and that's always a yes, because everybody has supported me so much, or it's a charity. If we're raising money for charity, I'm always available, as long as I haven't pre-committed a family event. But yeah, man, I play my video games. I enjoy myself. I know that I have to fill my creative well with enjoyable experiences. Yeah. You can't just work. You're going to have to at the beginning, but you need to find eventually your groove and go, this is right for me. This is enough. I don't need to be spending any more time. Like, I don't make enough short form content to advertise myself. I'm trying to find ways where I'm going to make it available that time. But guess what? If I don't, I'm okay, because I am living my life in the present, and I am enjoying and maintaining the relationships around me. Those super important. I went from a very different perspective than even just somebody else. I used to have thousands of people in my life with a tavern. When all of a sudden people aren't just going to you, all those people still expect you to maintain those relationships. And that is untenable. Yeah, because they all used to come to me during my work time. And you can compartmentalize all these friendships, relationships, and stories through that way. So I wasn't able to be available to everyone in that way. Luckily, a lot of my regulars figured out I had a stream, and they were like, "Oh, they come in the stream," and I'm like, "Hey, you got to give me your username, man. I have no idea who you are.
Who's this person?
Who is this? Who is this behind the
They're like
username?"
dropping secrets from your life in the tavern, and you're like, I can't figure it out.
There's only one person that could be. Yeah. So, man, that's the way I run it now, and that's what I encourage everybody else, man. Once you get to your spot, understand what you want in life. That is not an infinite ladder, and that's, man, when you're young and ambitious, that you can't. You think that is a dark cloud, and you avoid that, and you go, "I'm willing to do anything." Well, time is finite, and you're going to find out that your seasons of life change, and you need to soak them up when they're there. I was very lucky to have that perspective early because I lived in university town. I got to rent people in my life for 4 to 5 years, and then they left. So I am used to experiencing that super close bond, and then having that pulled away pre-social media, and then into social media, like, oh my God, I can keep up with these folks now. So I've had the full gamut. I really come from a very interesting time in life where I got, internet and these tools at like a really acceptable age. I got to have my youth and my innocence, but also learn these things on the fly as I was a young adult, and was prepared to go through that journey. So I'm very fortunate of the time that I was pigeonholed in this material plane. But man, you have to figure out what you want in life, and what is too much, and what is enough. And I think everybody in their creator journey finally figures out what is enough. Sometimes too early, sometimes too late, sometimes in between. But it's the most important thing to your happiness.
Very cool. How do you go about choosing not only the campaigns that you're going to be doing next, but also which guests you're going to be running it with?
So there is a bit of sadness with that question, because there are potential friends that in my stage now that I'll never make, and I'll never meet, because they weren't there in my early career.
Right.
Radio Mang is one of my first internet friends. He had a horrible username. He was called Captain Dog Poop on Mixer, and I go, this is just a troll. There's no way. And I put him on my Discord, which, by the way, this is so old. Discord had like just come out, and like I'm like, this is a horrible idea. I should not be putting this person in my audio call right now. But they play Destiny, I play Destiny. Let's do this. And immediately I hear him, I go, oh, you're a radio DJ, because he's mic'd up to the max. Unfortunately, I'm not on my rig right now where it represents that that high quality of audio status. But he had that right out of the gate before any streamers ever did. And I was like, oh, and immediately figured out, I was like, this is a good egg, serendipitous. We become great friends. Obviously, he rolls into my first D&D campaign. My first internet friends become that. The folks in the early communities, and then you grow as a creator. And when it comes to games, you're going to play with certain people where you're kind of at in your career and your networking level, because you need to be making smart choices about finding a broader audience with still just enjoying the love of the game. So you want to find your friend that's a creator that that loves and wants to play D&D, but has to play an FPS game all day. But man, do they want to play D&D later? Like, and you find that you got to find people that want to play for the love of the game and for loving each other at the table. So I kind of curate that these days. So I know there are folks in my channel that are like, that would love and want to play, but you can't do that anymore. It's a natural process of how you grow. These days when I'm finding players, they're the folks that I meet when I'm out on conventions, and I'm meeting people in person, and I'm vetting them there. In 10 minutes in person, I'm going to know whether I want to be around this person or not.
The power of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 100% the power of artwork. Yeah.
100%.
Instant. Something's off.
Yeah. The red flag goes up, and I'm lucky. I'm a high social perceiver. I've been in the social business my whole life, so it's very easy to pile sort. Luckily, one of the great things we do so much fundraising through GCX to St. Jude that I get to go to St. Jude Summit, and I'm finding other creators. If a creator is fundraising for childhood cancer, I have most of the boxes checked already before I meet them. It's a whole room of pile sorted folks.
Yeah.
And that's just how you start going on that career, and you start networking and you start meeting friends. You're like, okay, I start making some YouTube friends for the first time and some short form creators, and you just try to put the puzzle together. I try to put people together, knowing their personalities, trying to make the best pie that I can make. And this is what all D&D creators and D&D DMs and groups need to understand. The secret sauce is not being a professional voice actor in in California. That is not the secret to D&D. The secret that you're seeing is friendship and people that have invested in each other, that were work friends, that some of them may have not even known each other that well when they came in. Some of them did, but they found love through each other at the table. That's the secret sauce. Anybody can get that secret sauce. That's what you have to find. You have to find people that want to invest in each other and the stories that you're telling, and those, because you're going to be forming memories that are as real as any other memories that you've experienced in your life. That is, these are your folks, and you're going to talk about that stuff in the campaign for the rest of your life in those moments. That's what you need to seek out. That's the secret sauce. That's what nobody else wants to talk about. It's not any of these one shots where they're throwing 5 celebrities that don't know each other in to raise money. That's awesome. The only goal of that show is to raise money for whatever they are for. It doesn't matter. We're not trying to make the greatest piece of artwork that we've ever made. Quit hunting down the tables that you wish you were at and go find the table that other people wish they were at. You need to find your table. And that's what we just stress all the time. It's about finding like-minded people that want to play the same style of D&D and storytelling as you. Man, you find that, you're done. You're off to the races. I get it. It's hard. And it's hard for people that don't have the DNA and skill set that I have. The harder social interactions are for you, the harder this social game is. But I'm telling you, we've never had better tools and better understanding of that in my entire life. So like, now is the golden age, and it's only getting better. As far as you have so much optimism to look for, to be finding your table. It is not, oh, this is hard and sad. Man, it just keeps getting better.
That's amazing. You've also really efficiently answered just so many of my questions at the same time, which I really appreciate as an interviewer. So, is there anything that you would like to plug?
Anything I would like to plug? You know what? We're just playing D&D over on the channel a whole bunch. Come and check us out. If you're into really dynamically soundtracked and energetic style D&D, and you'll quickly know whether you like our style of storytelling or not. Come hang out, become a community member, say something in chat. I'm Captain RoBear at everything. Just come by and watch sometime. That's all we ever ask. We love the energy. That's what we feed off of. Everything else is just awesome. If you guys, I'll be at PAX U here in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. Don't be scared. Come up to me. I'm super easy to spot. I am a literal giant with a captain's hat on and long hair. You can't miss me. I wear fishing shirts every day, non-ironically, that are bright colors. You'll be able to spot me from a mile away. Come up and have a D&D conversation with me. I'll tell you that your build doesn't matter and that you just need to play D&D. It'll be great. You'll hear the same thing out of me over and over again. Or we'll get a super high five out of how awesome bastions are and the good parts of 2024 D&D. So come up, say hi. I'll be there. I'll be at PAX East when it rolls around, Gen Con, PAX West, and obviously I'll be doing my live show at GCX event. So come on, check out. We're gonna be loading up campaign soon on Monday. So we have the mods playing in their game. My original mods are on
Mhm.
Sunday night on the channel. We're going to be adding Monday. Our UK time slot will be kicking up soon again
Oh, cool.
on Wednesday during the day, and then we still have our Vecna game on Thursday. So we'll be Sunday through Thursday again very soon on the channel. But yeah, come check us out.
Awesome. And then the sign off is we look at the camera and wave awkwardly because that's what Pointy Hat did. So yeah, bye.